Welcome to this explainer. Imagine, for a second, two men standing out in the middle of an absolute downpour. The rain is just relentless. Now, this storm, it's the flow of money in your life. Most of us are frantically running around in this storm, right? Just trying to catch as much water as we possibly can. Well, today, we're going to look at a century-old Japanese method that completely changes how you catch that rain. It's an approach to building quiet, unshakable wealth, not by magically earning millions overnight, but by fundamentally fixing how you handle what you already make.
So picture the first guy in the rainstorm holding this massive bucket. He's catching a ton of water, which represents a high income. But look closer. His bucket has 100 little holes in the bottom. The rain pours in, but it pours out just as fast. At the end of the storm, he's exhausted, stressed out, and completely broke. Now imagine the second man. He's holding a small, solid steel cup. No holes whatsoever. The rain is just a drizzle for him, representing a lower salary, but he catches every single drop. Once his little cup is full, he pours it into a barrel, and then another barrel. By the time the storm finally passes, the guy with the massive bucket is begging for water, while the guy with the small steel cup is incredibly wealthy.
And here's the ultimate trap. Making more money when you have bad habits is exactly like pouring water into a leaking bucket. You don't actually get richer, you literally just speed up the flow of waste. Our modern society is completely obsessed with income. We're constantly told that the solution to all of our financial stress is just to hustle harder, right? Make more money. But chasing a higher salary without actually fixing your financial habits is a total trap.
Which brings us to Section 1, the trap of invisible money. Why digital spending makes us broke.
Think about how you actually spend money today. You tap your card. You double-click Apple Pay on your phone. You use one-click buy on Amazon. You almost never see the physical money leave your hand. Economists call this frictionless spending. Massive corporations have literally spent billions of dollars on research and development to remove any trace of friction from the buying process. Their absolute ultimate goal to seamlessly separate you from your cash before you even have a second thought to question the purchase.
And here's the crazy science behind why frictionless spending is so dangerous for us. It destroys what psychologists call the pain of paying. See, when you hand over a crisp $50 bill, your brain registers a tiny bit of emotional pain. It causes real mental friction. But when you just tap a piece of plastic, that pain is completely numbed. You don't feel the loss at all. The problem is, you don't feel the pain until the end of the month when you finally check your credit card statement. But by then, it's an autopsy. The patient is already dead and the damage is completely done.
So to find the antidote, we actually have to look back in time, all the way back to Japan in 1904. A journalist named Hani Motoko recognized this massive need for intentionality in household finances, and she invented a system called Kakeibo. Kakeibo essentially translates to household financial ledger. And listen, it is not an app on your phone. It's not some automated Excel spreadsheet. It is a physical book and a pen. It's a grounded, manual, highly intentional antidote to all that frictionless spending we just talked about.
Because Kakeibo operates on a really simple, mindful philosophy. It literally forces you to stare your spending right in the face. It's the physical act of reintroducing friction into your financial life. Think about it. When you have to physically write down latte, $6.50 on a piece of paper, your brain processes that transaction completely differently. You actually have to pause and ask yourself, wait, is this coffee truly worth the effort of writing it down? Is it worth the ink? Is it worth my life energy? Suddenly, that invisible digital money becomes incredibly visible.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 2, the mechanics of Kakeibo, patching the holes in your bucket.
The Kakeibo method requires a total paradigm shift. Most people operate on the standard method, right? Income minus spending equals savings. They spend whatever they want all month long and just cross their fingers and hope to save whatever's left over, which, let's be honest with ourselves, is usually zero. Kakeibo demands what we call the Kakeibo flip. Income minus savings equals spending. You pay yourself first. If you make $3,000 and want to save $500, you remove that $500 immediately. You now have to survive on $2,500. This creates artificial scarcity. And when you have less money available, you become far more creative, prioritizing your true needs over those passing wants.
Once you've secured your savings, you organize your spending into 4 distinct buckets. Let's walk through them really quick. First is survival. These are your absolute non-negotiables, like rent, groceries, and medicine. Second is optional, dining out, new clothes, drinks. And listen carefully, the optional bucket is the leak. This is exactly where your financial battle is won or lost. Third is culture, things like books or museum visits. Notice how Kakeibo treats mental enrichment as an investment, not a waste. And finally, extra, the unexpected car repairs or birthday gifts.
Every single dollar you spend must fall into one of these 4 categories.
And here is where the real magic happens, the daily ritual. Step 1, sit down for just 3 minutes every evening. Step 2, write today's receipts into your buckets. Step 3, feel the immediate sting of your choices. If you blew $50 on drinks last night, you have to write it down the very next morning while the memory is still super fresh. You feel the sting of that choice immediately, and that sting prevents you from making the exact same mistake tonight. You aren't waiting for a month-end financial autopsy. You are doing a vital, daily checkup that keeps your finances alive.
Section 3. Mastering impulse control. Beating the dopamine loop.
So how do we actually set boundaries? Well, the source material introduces the envelope method. At the start of the month, you withdraw the exact amount of physical cash you budgeted for your optional bucket, your fun money, right? You put it in a literal envelope. When you go out, you only take cash from that envelope. When the envelope is empty, the fun is over, period. No credit cards, no overdrafts. And this brilliantly illustrates physical boundaries, because an empty envelope simply cannot buy a beer. It's an incredible teacher of self-regulation.
But what about online shopping? For that, Kakeibo introduces a simple, incredibly powerful number, 30. This is the 30-day cooling-off rule. When you see something online that you want, that isn't a survival need, you don't buy it. You write it down on a wish list and you wait exactly 30 days. This completely kills the dopamine shopping loop. So often, we just shop to self-medicate anxiety, boredom, or stress. Waiting 30 days forces you to confront the actual feelings behind the urge. And 90% of the time, after a month, you look at that item and wonder why you ever thought you needed it in the first place.
Behind these rules are 2 truly beautiful Japanese concepts, monozukuri and matanai. Basically, this is a deep respect for materials and a profound regret over waste. Before you buy a new phone, you clean your old one. Before you buy new shoes, you polish the ones you already have. Our modern consumer economy relies entirely on you being perpetually dissatisfied. Repairing a shirt instead of throwing it away, that is an absolute act of rebellion. It makes you the master of your material world rather than just a slave to the shopping mall.
Now, at the end of the month, the system asks you to do your hansei, your reflection. It's all about acting like a scientist collecting data on your own behavior. You look at your actual spending versus your budget, and you ask the hard questions. Why did I spend $200 on takeout? Was I stressed at work? Was I just lazy? If stress is your trigger, then next month, you implement Kaizen, continuous improvement. You find a free alternative for your stress, like taking a walk or a bath, instead of ordering expensive food. This creates a continuous feedback loop to permanently stop the financial bleeding.
Section 4. Wealth is a ratio, the gap between making and spending.
Consider 2 totally different lives. Man A makes $200,000 a year, but he spends $200,000 a year. He has an incredible bucket, but it's completely full of holes. He has 0 actual wealth. If he loses his job, he is destitute in 30 days. He is trapped. Now consider man B. He makes only $50,000, but he spends $30,000. He saves $20,000 a year. Man B is vastly richer than man A because man B is buying his freedom. By widening the gap between your income and your expenses, you literally purchase the ability to own your own time.
And this is absolutely crucial. You have to stop looking at savings as deprivation. Don't look at it as money you aren't allowed to touch. When you save $1,000, you are essentially hiring 1,000 tiny workers. Their only job is to invest, grow, and eventually buy you a day of your life back where you don't have to work. Savings is literal freedom that you have successfully purchased for your future self.
Ultimately, Kakeibo acts as a mirror. It is the ledger of your life. We all have limited time and limited resources, right? So how are you spending yours? If you tell yourself that family is the most important thing to you, but your Kakeibo shows you spend $0 on family experiences and $500 on golf, well, the ledger proves you're lying to yourself. This system forces your spending to align honestly with your deepest, most authentic values.
All right, the final step, Section 5, the 7-day challenge. Pick up the pen.
The Kakeibo framework leaves us with a 7-day challenge. For the next week, physically write down every single cent you spend. Use a dedicated notebook, use a napkin, use the back of your hand, it really doesn't matter. Just write it down. At the end of the week, take a red pen and circle every single expense that was a want and not a survival need. I'll warn you right now, it can be pretty shocking to see how much of your hard-earned money is essentially being set on fire. But remember, uncomfortable awareness is the absolute crucial first step to true change.
I want to leave you with this final provocative question. What is your guilty pleasure expense? What is that one small, frictionless leak that is quietly draining your bucket every single month? Go ahead and confess it down in the comments below. Acknowledge it, confront it, and take the vow of Kakeibo. You will master your money so that it no longer masters you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.